Hey guys, it's Julesy, and I wanted to do one of those fun videos where I've been seeing going around here on YouTube where people ask their audience via their Instagram stories for assumptions about themselves, and your audience gives it to you. All right, let's see if I can still even see the post I made with the assumptions. I did take screenshots of my assumptions because I knew there was a chance I might not get this done in a 24-hour period. But yeah, I like this idea because it's like a cute, classy way to be messy, to dig into some of the negativity that you see on the internet about yourself without, being too messy. You know how it goes. And it keeps wanting to focus on this hoe back here, but no, camera, focus on me. Thank you. I asked for an assumption on my dating life and views, and then I asked for assumptions on my problematic politics. Now, on the politics one, a lot of people replied that they think, well, we probably have the same politics, so they can't figure out what might be my negative politics. And since this is the one I got the least replies on, I'm gonna start with this one first, because the dating one, of course, everyone has something to say about the dating one. Girl. So you believe that there's only two genders and you don't get why non-binary people are a thing. No, I don't believe that there are only two genders. I actually, for the most part, when it comes to both gender and sexuality, don't understand why we are so focused on all sides of the spectrum about how much, well, maybe not all sides of the spectrum, that's not fair to say, but I think those sides of the spectrum that get the most view in the mainstream that society likes to hold on to, even when they say claiming to be progressive, that they always fit into very binary understandings. And interestingly enough, I had a cousin come out to me as trans, and this is probably one thing where I was trying to think through how was I problematic in their response to me, because them telling me they were trans completely I was not expecting that, and I think I'm the only person in the family who knows, so I can't give too many details. And I was surprised they even told me that, because we've only interacted maybe 3 times. I see them every couple of years, and I was at my aunt's house, and they were really excited to see me when I walked in the door. But girl, this is gonna sound so petty. I was mad because my uncle is the best barbecuer ever, and I got there at 7. I know my uncle 5:30, and I had told this Negro, save some ribs for me. If I need to go to the store and buy more ribs, I want a plate of ribs, bruh. Don't let all them Negroes eat the ribs before I get there, because I'm gonna be an hour late. I walked in the house at 6:30, and all the ribs is gone, and I was hot. So I kind of brushed them to the side when they ran up on me, and then I pulled them onto the side because I noticed that I peep game how they dressed or whatever. I was just thinking that they were gonna tell me that they had that they were queer, that they were gay, or that they had the same gender, that they were queer and that they had the same gender partner. And so I pulled them to the side and I said, so who you dating? And they tensed up, and I was like, yo, why are you getting so tense? Girl, I'm not judging you. It's fine. Just, I'm just trying to make sure that, I realize with the family, because my family's Jehovah's Witness, that, you're Jehovah's Witness and they're poor and y'all live. So I just want to make sure that, you're okay. And they were like, well, it turns out they've been getting the shit beat out of them by my aunts and other cousins, because they have a same gendered partner, and that's why they shook. And then they said that they identify as being trans. And my response to that, this is what I was trying to figure out, was my response to them telling me that problematic, because I immediately asked them, well, so I don't want my family to see this and get them in trouble. I was saying to them, okay, well, do you feel like you're in the wrong body? You feel you're not in the right body. And I remember saying to them, I'm not really well versed in this, but I can definitely connect you with other people, because I realize where you live at. I say this out loud, but I remember thinking that maybe they live in such a small world that they don't understand that they're allowed to be whoever they want to be without having to conform to a binary understanding of masculinity or femininity. Right? I was trying to think through if that was problematic. That I was trying to have a discussion with equivalently is a 14-year-old who has never seen the world. And, they have a very small window in which they get to see the world, because my aunt that they live with is batshit crazy. So gender and being confronted with it in the way that I was, in which I can't do a whole lot for the person right now. I can't take a teenager can't come live with me, sis. Girl, no. But in order to say, no, I'm not problematic in how I view gender, but I was questioning, was I problematic in how I responded to a family member who told me they were trans? Because I just told them again that I could put them in touch. I don't think they have a lot of models of like the fact that like you can be, oh girl, I'm using all the wrong words. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm problematic at. I don't know why this Negro who I know who's the bruh says super independent, because that's not problematic. My other homeboy said gender roles, but I do not have problematic politics around gender roles, because I believe everyone has a right within their own household to establish the gender roles that they want to feed into. But I don't believe that society can pressure you into particular gender roles. There's that. You would be a single issue voter for women's reproductive rights. Okay, so single issue voter typically means someone who picks one issue and that's what they vote for. And typically when you're talking about women's reproductive rights, it is to say that when they claim people are single issue, that they are inherently pro-life and they only vote for pro-life politicians, which I absolutely, girl, do not. I don't even really, I think, by the technicality of it, I am absolutely pro-choice, but I don't align myself with the pro-choice movement because I feel like we don't have good ways about talking about women and reproductive health care. And historically, the pro-choice movement has been co-opted and catered towards upper middle, upper class white women. And some of the ways that even we talk about access to, or like the right to have abortions, kind of undoes the politics of reproductive and women's health care for Black women, Black and brown women. Right? And I've done videos on that. Y'all don't really be watching them videos, which I guess is why somebody might come through with this assumption, because I have a whole video. It was sponsored by Nurex, but I've talked about the why birth control is so difficult to get. You don't think there's longevity in the DACS movement. So DACS is descendant of American chattel slaves movement, which is also known as the ADOS movement, American descendants of slaves. And I don't think there is longevity in the movement, because there is no longevity in anything that purports to want to liberate a community by stepping on the backs or holding bigoted views against other communities, right? I keep saying this whole anti-immigrant sentiment, like niggas really want to argue me down about that ish. By all means, I'm not even going to entertain these arguments no more with y'all. But point blank period, if you're going to be anti-immigrant, I don't think your movement can survive. There's that. And personally, because I believe that there is enough history and culture in the African American community that we ain't got to be worried about them folks to tell people that we need to celebrate our shit and that we need to become knowledgeable about our shit. That I don't need to worry about everyone on this side in order to encourage people to learn factual African American history. I don't have to do that. You cut people off with nonverbal side eyes. No, I'm a highly communicative person. If I have an issue with you, you most likely will get it in email format, mostly because I realize that I'm a highly communicative person, that I have words and I know how to use them, and a lot of folks don't. So I don't expect an immediate reaction. And there's been times I've texted or called someone and been like, hey, I just want to tell you this, and I don't need an immediate reaction, but their gut reaction is to give an immediate reaction, even though they haven't thought it through, they haven't heard what I'm saying, they haven't had time to think about it, they haven't gathered their words yet. So I typically, dealing in conflict, will send you an email. If you are an acquaintance and someone I don't particularly care a whole lot about, I might have a verbal conversation with you first and just kind of give you that moment to figure it out. And if you don't after that, I walk away. That even a small percentage of Black, in parentheses Kamala Harris, makes you fully Black. I think the question of who gets to classify themselves as Black when it comes to mixed race in America it's a very, I don't think there is a cut and dry answer. No, I am not of the belief of the one drop rule. And I think that yeah, we have to acknowledge that a lot of the ways we identify people of race is based on phenotype and how we see them. And that none of us really, I haven't really met anyone or heard anyone who has put out a guideline or standard of who gets identified as Black in America, and has kept that standard across the board, because we all have people who like we know in our personal lives who might not meet the exact standard that we set, but we still accept them as Black because we know them. See what I'm saying? Kamala Harris got a whole Black parent. She might be Black adjacent. I think my issue more so is, why do Black adjacent mixed race Black people, why in 2019 are they still the most visible? I think we can focus less on who gets to identify as Black and focus more on the identifiably Black people, and we'll get a lot further here. You know, that's how I feel. Same person then came back and said that biracial people are part of the Black experience. Well, yes. If you are African American, somebody in your recent lineage was likely biracial. Don't matter how Black you look today. Most African Americans are somewhere between 25, a quarter, and 15% European, because white supremacy supremacized, especially during chattel slavery, where Black women did not have ownership over their bodies. And part of that was the easiest way to make more, especially when you see Black people, or as Africans as they referred to them at that time. If you see your slaves as property, how do you create more property? Get a hoe pregnant. I mean, I should not be calling a slave woman a hoe, but you know what I'm talking about, bruh. So impregnate your women, the women that you own. But I do refer to people as Black adjacent. So no, I don't believe that biracial. I do believe biracial people and mixed race people are part of the Black experience. I do also understand that some of them have the option to enter in and out of that experience as a matter of convenience. But those are the people that we should be making visible. You know what I mean? I think there are ways to curtail who gets to profit off of Black culture, that we can do that without setting sweeping guidelines for who overall gets to identify as part of this race. It is not problematic that I'm okay with the LGBTQ plus. I am more than okay with the LGBTQ plus community. That's not problematic. I don't know how that would be problematic. Y'all are wildin'. Agree with some Republican policies. Currently, the current iteration of the GOP, which actually stands for Grand Old Party, Nazis, no, not a thing. They not even fiscally conservative anymore. They just some white boys trying to white boy, and I ain't here for none of it. So, okay, let's get into these dates. Here's the more fascinating ones. The dating. Let's scroll through. Okay, so a lot of these are repeats. The dating ones got repetitive, but everyone had something to say. Someone said, I assume that you only date dark-skinned guys that are like 4 years older than you. I do want to have Black children. So with that said, I do not date outside my race. I'm not as hard fast about a guy being distinctly dark-skinned. I particularly don't really do light-skinned men. I don't do men lighter than me, generally speaking. And but I'm more like about the whole composition, because I also don't like if you ain't got no lips, because there'd be dark-skinned men with no upper lip. I'm good. You know, I want Black features. So this happened a few times, and I think every one of y'all that made this assumption are telling on yourselves that y'all came from a certain place on the internet that's not positive nor nice. With the various iterations of it are either that I have a thing, I have an obsession, I only want to date Africans, or more specifically Nigerians, and I just don't even know how why is this a thing with me? And I know where it comes from. It either comes from a particular message board or from the ADOS movement that don't fuck with me, that think I'm pandering to the Africans. First of all, based on the politics of dating that I have shared with y'all, how the hell am I dating an African? If I talk about patriarchy, the way I talk about patriarchy in American society, sis, what's the likelihood that I'm gonna land me an African? Okay, have I dated Africans in the past? Yes, I lived in Houston, but I've also dated Caribbean men. You know what I mean? bruh. But I'm not particularly pressed to be, well, I'll get into that later, because other people hit on assumptions about like what I actually want out of partnerships and intimate relationships. But I have pretty radical viewpoints on dating and what it means to be a woman and how marriage does or does not benefit me. So that would largely like X out most Africans that I have come across. Well, I prefer Southern Black men in general. I like people that are acquainted with Black culture. You believe in open relationships but are private about your dating life. Haha, sis. Maybe we might be onto something. You seem like you follow your instincts and not waste time giving fuckboys a chance. Yeah, I don't. I have very strong intuition, and I've realized that every time I deviate from that intuition is when I play myself. So in my 30s, I don't deviate. I stay, I follow my mind, and I'm rarely proven wrong. Okay, I got a few of these also about whether I was, some assumptions were that I'm open to being poly, and some assumptions were that I'm not interested in being polyamorous. I personally think that poly, to truly do it, right? Both that and kind of like open relationships. I'm not opposed to the idea that I would never be in an open relationship, but currently both with open relationships and polyamory, my thing is that like, I don't have a very broad emotional bandwidth when it comes to dealing emotionally with other people. I don't want to use hard as a negative term, right? Because I don't believe that my boundaries are not reasonable, but I have very specific boundaries. And also, like, I'm a hypochondriac. Is that how you say hypochondriac? I'm a hypochondriac. I like cleanliness. It's just a lot in making sure that your partner, your intimate partner, is not only STD free, but also like their overall health is good, right? Because I have a very sensitive vagina. I hit 30 and my vagina was just like, bitch, what, you tried it? The pH balance is a delicate balance that we like to maintain. We take our cranberry probiotics every day. We eat our yogurt, okay? We do what we need to do. And then we also make sure that our partners are not leaving bubbles on their dick when they get out the shower, okay? Don't fuck my shit up, sis. Yeah, it's just a lot to like have to worry about, like, are you drinking your water? Like, I'm a nut, right? Because if I'm dealing with you, I'm like, are you drinking a gallon of water a day? Are you eating? Are you doing, you ain't gotta be like in tip top, like, cut shape, but are you at least like physically active in some way that can sustain your health, right? It's between the emotional bandwidth, not like having people in my house, and I don't lie, I'm very honest, and I absorb the energy that I let into my life. For that reason, I'm pretty okay with monogamy. Though I might do monogamy in a non-traditional form, and that the most I would say that, I don't think this is considered an open relationship, but I don't prioritize my intimate partnerships as like the top. So that means when I'm in an intimate partnership, I don't stop talking to other people. Like my friends and my family. I think they kind of all exist on an equal playing field for me, because I think they all create a healthy Julesy. I don't believe that like my man should be my best friend, No, I need to have other friends that I talk to about things. You are too smart, talented, and beautiful to be dealing with the majority of the men you encounter. Well, thank you, sis. I think most people, and I would love to say that highly true for Black women, but I'm gonna say most people that have reached a true point of emotional maturity, we're too much for all the people that we encounter. Your standards are high, but your expectations are low. I think my standards are radical, and my expectation is that I can get what I want as long as I'm true to this. I'm real to this, that I carry myself with a level of integrity, right? You find it hard to find men that meet your intellect, so you stay single for that reason. I don't find it hard to meet men who are book smart. My issue is that, like, especially men that exist in like this sphere of cultural curators, Black activism, I find a lot of people, particularly the men, because they can be, are performative in the way that they talk about their respect for Black women, and they don't really put it into praxis. And if they do put it into praxis, they're already married, okay? You only date college-educated men. I have, actually. I don't know if that's a conscious thing. You don't date Gemini men. Gemini men typically don't even approach me. They don't give me the time of day, and I'm not offended. I'm okay, sis. But the only one I like hard line to be like, oh, I'm good, is Pisces. I don't even waste a Pisces time. Don't bother. You look down on Black women who are not educated. I don't know what this has to do with my dating life, but smart brown girl, the mission of that, I say this all the time, is about pulling the intelligence out of you, because everyone is smart. I think it is the effort to be stupid and dumb. And so no, I do not think that Black women who may have not had access to education, who life, has just led them down certain paths. No, I actively put effort into not feeding into respectability politics, right? And not politicizing my access to education, and not turning my nose up at different walks of life that maybe aren't my own personal experience. Matter of fact, the whole discussion I had with somebody talking about pursuing my PhD, I was talking about, like Black history is not that people I'm not trying to erase the Black women historians that have done the work, but a lot of that is, held up in white ivory towers that, everyday Black people don't have access to. So I don't think the ADOS movement has longevity, but I'm not surprised, and what I am saying is that I do understand why people are eager to attach themselves to that movement. So no, I don't turn my nose up at women who are not educated. You have control issues. I have issues with letting go of control when it comes to vulnerability, but I'm getting better. You expect people to think or do as you would, so it leads to discord in relationships. I don't expect people to think as I think. I expect people to think. If you have a different thought process than I do, if you see the world differently than me, that's fine. But can you lead me down that pathway? Is there even a pathway? Did you take a walk somewhere and come to this conclusion? I just want you to take a walk and come to the conclusion you came to. Because maybe you can teach me things, right? I think there's been plenty of times where people right in my comment section have respectfully disagreed with me, and it has showed me a whole new way of thinking. I tend to, for the most part, my friends are not like me because I don't deal with yes people, and I like a healthy debate. You're low-key into white men but will never date one. I don't find nothing attractive about pink dick. You got me fucked up. Okay? You fat, portly dudes with decent jobs. I mean, are you saying I date portly dudes with decent jobs? I like a thick nigga. I like a little something soft around the middle to grab onto. You're straight. I do identify as heterosexual. Yes. But I don't particularly feel like that needs to be announced in the same way that I don't feel like you need to announce your queer identity. Someone came out to me recently. They were saying that, at first I thought they were asexual and now they're in a same gender relationship, and they were kind of surprised that they could be sexually attracted to another woman. And I remember walking away wow, I think that really speaks to our relationship that you feel comfortable enough and safe enough to tell me this. But to be honest, I don't be announcing when I'm dating a fuckboy, so you ain't got to announce that you got a girlfriend. You could have just came around with her and said, look, bitch, I'm happy, and I would have been happy for you. That's how I feel about my friends who are in non-heterosexual relationships that I don't need. I appreciate that they want to talk to me about it, right? And have this conversation because maybe they don't have a lot of people to talk to about it. But it's not a requirement. I don't feel like people should have to announce or come out to me. I ain't coming out to you about my bad choices. I'm not equating my bad choices to your queerness, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? I'm not announcing, so you don't have to either. Love who you love, and I'm okay with it. You're dating behind the scenes and need us to mind our business. Wow, I like you. Shout out to you. Thank you. Yes, I love people that are respectful of my privacy. They assume that I find it difficult to find men of my caliber. I find it difficult to find people who are emotionally mature and know how to communicate. Across the board, bruh. You are very selective, which means you are single or not dealing with anyone often. You have a profound love for Taurus men and just want a solid co-parent. Wow! Do you know me? I think Taurus men are great in the bedroom to be, if I'm gonna generalize something, I don't know if I want to date y'all, but truth be told, yes, I would love a solid co-parent. You know, I would like to like drop my kid off for 2 weeks at their father's house. You know, mothers and marriages don't get that. You don't get to drop your kid off with the daddy for 2 whole weeks. But you know, if I was co-parenting, I get to drop my kid off with the daddy for 2 weeks and then be like, wow, I miss them, and come back all refreshed and ready to see my kid. Because the one thing like I noticed amongst my friends who are single mothers, who are married within my own childhood, is, you know, remembering, you know, the frustration that sometimes I see in women. And then, man, I don't want, my mama wasn't a bad mom, so I'm not saying this is particularly about you, but like, you know, I think they all deserve a moment to miss their child. I think that breeds a healthiness, right? Distance makes the heart grow fonder, and I feel like I should be able to have that in child rearing. You prefer to date cis-het men, not men in the trans queer umbrella. I have no issue with dating a sexually fluid Black man. That's fine. I haven't been approached by trans men to even know what that would be like. I haven't even been confronted with that to even like for it to really ever cross my mind. I don't give second chances to grown people, to grown folk. We left that second chance in our 20s because it's never second. It's not, I haven't ever been confronted where I thought it was like a true second chance was necessary, because it's the come back around, the pop back up is always, do I still have access to you? It's always that BS. Hella white guys are attracted to you. No, I do not get approached by white men. Like in New York I did, but since moving to the South, no, it hasn't happened since I moved down South. You don't date religious men. I do not. You're gonna end up with the wildest white man. Where y'all pulling the white man thing? I think y'all just want me to hear me say it. You just want to hear me say I don't like big dick. I'm saying it again. Okay, you got it? Check. Bye. I also don't want to give birth to a white man. That's terrifying. You're like, and I feel like my DNA, my genetics are a little weak, right? I have a green eye gene and a blonde hair gene in my DNA. I know that because I pulled this shit up. I'm good. We Gucci. Someone low-key sexual fluidity plus high-key pro-Black equals love living in North Carolina. You know what? It's interesting. In Charlotte, I have found that to actually be true, in that the sexual fluidity is like a thing here, and I really appreciate seeing that in the pro-Black community amongst men and women. It's like, wow, I'm happy for you. You only date Black men. Wow, how'd you know, sis? I'm not interested in marriage or looking for a partner. Y'all know me. You're bisexual. Actually, when it comes to like bisexuality, I myself am pretty firmly, when it comes to sexual partnerships, I'm heterosexual, but I absolutely believe that I could have a fulfilling emotional relationship with a woman. I just don't want to have sex with them. Like, I'd be a pillow princess, but that's unfair. So there's that. You're not willing to entertain someone who doesn't read actual books. I will, if I meet a man, this is where I could be forgiving. If I meet you and you haven't read a book in a while, but I give you a book to read and you take that with consideration, I can give you some leniency. You know what I mean? We could read together. We could come up together. Okay, a lot of people, I think because y'all have popped into my Instagram lives, I got a lot of people that assumed, and because y'all know, I don't place strong emphasis on romantic relationships. I do not. I think we lack the representation of the other models of relationships that we can have. And the ways that we prioritize heterosexual intimate partnerships as like the cream of the crop really does a disservice, particularly to women. And it puts an unnecessary like load of labor on us that isn't typically reciprocated. Reciprocity, shout out to Lauryn Hill. You don't want to have kids. I absolutely want to have children. I want to corrupt someone who looks like me. Okay, yeah, quite a few of y'all hit me with the I'm not in a relationship because men are not on my level intellectually, or I have high standards and so therefore I'm not settling. I don't know. It's not necessarily that I have high standards, it's that I have a very different viewpoint on what sort of partnership would benefit me. And men don't really have an incentive to think differently about relationships, because what truly does benefit them, even though they'll say, oh, men aren't meant to be monogamous. You know, poor Black men benefit the most from marriage. Men in general, even though they be like, oh, women are gold diggers, oh, it's expensive. Men generally, politically speaking, definitely benefit from marriage. You don't believe in dating down. you know, when it comes, okay, so this is the thing. If I'm going to date, and I don't enjoy dating, so I don't particularly participate in it too much. If I'm going to date someone and I'm going to invest in someone emotionally, you know, it's not to say that I would never get married or I would never end up in a committed relationship with a significant other. But it is that, like, look, if you know, if I'm gonna date you and invest in you emotionally, I mean, can you give me generational wealth in a lake house? So that's, you know, what tax bracket are you sitting in is definitely a consideration. And I am that a man must have a good relationship with his mother to date you. I think it's not specifically that they have to have a good relationship with their mother, but I do invest in, and I do consider, what are your familial relationships in general. So maybe you don't have a good relationship with your mother, but you have a good relationship with your father or an aunt or other people in your life that act as your family, and you understand the importance of familial relationships. This one I actually posted on my IG stories because it had nothing to do with dating, and, you know, someone acknowledging that they read that my chapter in Line Sisters Don't Mess With Me. It's like, first of all, I know where you read that at. I know it, they sent it to my DMs and confirmed where they read that at. I know. Bitches don't know how to brew tea. Like, if you want to talk about something, but, like, you know, I posted it on my IG, and then all my Line Sisters are in my DMs, like, tell them hoes to pull up. It'll be my 10th Deltaversary come April 4th, and I am looking forward to taking a trip with my Line Sisters. And if you follow me on Instagram, if you see, I have vlogs with my Line Sisters, I have videos with my Line Sisters. Like, it's been discussed about my relationship. I mean, this idea that I'm even grad chapter, it's like, y'all hoes really don't be paying attention. Whatever. You check social media, Facebook references, and LinkedIn on guys. Girl, I thoroughly Google a Negro. Yes. Do I tell them? Oftentimes no, but sometimes I Google them with them. You can't get a boyfriend because you're an angry black woman and a man hater. I mean, sure, I wake up every morning and chew up a black man for breakfast and spit him up for an early afternoon snack. You don't want to compromise your feminism from men, but the dick. I actually find that embracing my black feminism makes the dick I get even better. Someone says I have a hotation, they feel big player vibes from me. Ha! I wish my vagina wasn't so sensitive. Then maybe I might consider that, but girl, this pH balance don't let a hoe live. Forever single is okay. You'd rather invest in family and friendships. Wow. I love some of you who are understanding that I do not prioritize niggas. I know. Shout out to all y'all that slid into this answered this by saying that that I'm private and y'all ain't got no business being in my business and you don't need to know anything about my dating life. Shout out to you. The bros again, she finesses a whole bunch of dinners. No, I do not use men for free meals because again, I'm gonna tell y'all, my energy is bruh. My energy is of the highest quality and I do not dispense it loosely. Most men are overconfident and don't realize that you run mental laps around them. What? If I ever give them a chance. You have first date wigs and second date wigs. No, you know, actually on a first date, I don't get overly dressed up. You know, the times where I have been dressed up, it's almost always because I'm recording a YouTube video or like I did a get ready with me or something. But typically on a date, like I present like this is my makeup. I might throw on like a soft lash, but I try not to wear big lashes, and I might wear a bolder lip just because I don't want a man trying to kiss me on the first date. But I actually want a person to like get like a closer resemblance of what they might potentially be waking up to. And I want a person, like if I'm going to invest in you, whatever bandwidth of whatever spectrum of a relationship it is, I want a person who is invested in me and not the image of me. All right, got it. This was fun. Y'all are actually, I love a lot of y'all. Thank you. I'm not offended or bothered. I think some people sent certain assumptions because you wanted to make it fun. Thank you everyone for submitting your assumptions. Thank you for being a little messy. You made it fun. Thank you for listening and paying attention to the things I do talk about and, you know, letting my words speak for me. I love y'all for that. And thank you as always for participating and engaging. That's the best thing that you can do. Commenting, sharing, whether you repost something on your IG stories or you share it on your Facebook or whatever social media. You know, I love you all for wherever you meet me in this experience, and I'll holla at y'all later. Deuces.